the brine-scented air of Lisbon in the year 1512 carried whispers of destiny. At the break of dawn, as the sun's rays crept over terracotta rooftops and the Tagus River glimmered like liquid gold, Afonso da Silva stood on a high balcony overlooking the bustling port. Born to a modest, noble family, Afonso had always felt the restless pull of the unknown, a yearning that echoed in the tales of daring navigators and far-flung lands recounted in crowded taverns and by the flicker of hearth fires. Lisbon was a city at the crossroads of tradition and transformation, teemed with energy and promise. The cobblestone streets bustled with merchants hawking exotic spices, and the air vibrated with the sound of shipwrights hammering out the shapes of new caravels destined to challenge the horizon. It was here, amid the clash of cultures and the forging of a maritime empire, that Afonso's own adventure was about to begin. For years, he had listened, wide-eyed, to the accounts of legendary seafarers who braved uncharted waters, yet nothing compared to the palpable excitement in the city when news spread that the esteemed Captain Dom Duarte de Menezes was assembling an expedition destined to open new trade routes along the perilous coasts of West Africa. Rumor had it that this voyage, if successful, could secure Portugal's dominance in the spice trade and yield treasures beyond imagining. Inside the modest drawing room of his family's ancestral Homea space, adorned with faded portraits and maps hand-drawn by his forefathers, Afonso pored over an old mariner's log. The parchment, brittle with age, spoke of storms fought and islands discovered. His heart pounded with anticipation as he traced the intricate routes drawn by explorers long past. The log was not merely a record of events, it was a call to arms for every soul whose spirit danced with wanderlust. Across the room, his mentor and confidant, Mestre Lourenço, an aging scholar whose silver-threaded beard and wise eyes belied a lifetime spent in the service of the crown's maritime ambitions, regarded Afonso with a knowing smile. "The sea calls to you, my boy," he intoned in a low, measured tone. "In its depths lie not only the riches of distant lands but the secrets of your own destiny." Afonso's gaze lifted from the log, his eyes alight with determination. "I yearn to chart these waters, to learn the language of the winds, and to understand the pulse of the unknown," he replied softly, as if afraid that his whispered hopes might be carried away on the Atlantic breeze. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a messenger from the royal court, whose heraldic seal confirmed the news everyone in Lisbon was waiting for: the formation of Captain Dom Duarte's expedition. The messenger's voice was brisk, announcing that applicants for positions aboard the flagship, the Resolute, were being called to the palace by decree. The opportunity was rare, and for a young man like Afonso, it was the chance to step beyond the confines of what was known. That very afternoon, as Lisbon's sky blazed with the hues of sunset, Afonso joined a throng of hopefuls in the crowded courtyard of the royal palace. The building itself, an imposing structure of stone and gilded ornamentation, stood as a testament to Portugal's might and ambition. Every corner echoed with history, tales of voyages that had reshaped the known world and of men whose names were destined to be inscribed in annals of glory. Among the applicants was a woman of uncommon poise and intelligence, Isabella de Sousa. Clad in garments more suited to the role of a scholar navigator than that of a typical lady, she carried with her the air of someone who had studied the stars as much as the maps. Whispers in the crowd spoke of her reputation, that she had deciphered celestial patterns with a precision rivaling the era's finest mathematicians. In a world where women rarely sailed the stormy seas of adventure, her presence was both audacious and inspiring. Captain Dom Duarte, tall and resolute, addressed the assembly from an ornate dais. His voice, imbued with both command and passion, recounted the crown's vision of a world connected by daring exploration. "We stand at the threshold of a new era," he declared. "Our destiny is written on the winds and in the stars. The seas shall reveal secrets, forge alliances, and challenge us in ways our hearts have yet to fathom. I seek men and women of courage and conviction, ready to leave behind the familiar for the promise of discovery." The captain's gaze swept over the gathered faces, each one bearing the hopes and trepidations of a life about to change. Afonso felt the gravity of that moment settle upon him, as if centuries of maritime legacy were whispering that now was his time to join their ranks. His decision was instantaneous, irrevocable. In that heartbeat, the promise of adventure eclipsed every lingering doubt. In the days that followed, as preparations for the voyage gathered momentum, Afonso found himself engulfed in the myriad tasks that came with joining an expedition. He spent hours in the shipyards, where master craftsmen shaped timbers and stitched sails with an artistry that was as much ritual as it was labor. Every nail driven and every canvas unfurled deepened his understanding of the resolute spirit required to face the vagaries of the sea. Late one evening, as Afonso helped secure the last of the supplies, he struck up a conversation with an old sailor named João, a man whose weathered face and calloused hands were living testaments to a lifetime at sea. Over a shared flask of mulled wine, João recounted tales of monstrous waves, starless nights, and the haunting melody of a far-off shore that beckoned lost souls home. The sea, João hasped, is a fickle companion. It gives as much as it takes, and in its embrace, you either find glory or meet a fate befitting the legends. His words, both cautionary and inspiring, resonated with Afonso. In them lay the promise of transformation, a journey that would test every fiber of his being. That night, as the city of Lisbon slept beneath a tapestry of twinkling stars, Afonso lay awake, wrestling with dreams and doubts. In the quiet solitude of his room, he felt the weight of history upon him. The echoes of explorers who had dared to defy the known world mingled with his own aspirations, forging a resolve that was both delicate and unyielding. He knew that the coming days would forge him anew, no longer merely a son of Lisbon, but a seeker destined to write his own chapter in the annals of discovery. The dawn of departure arrived with a tempest of emotions. In the early morning chill, as the first light bathed the harbor in a pale glow, the crew of the Resolute assembled along the pier. The ship itself was a marvel of seafaring ingenuity, a sleek caravel bristling with rigging and promise. Its hull, emblazoned with the royal insignia, seemed to shimmer as though imbued with the very spirit of exploration. For Afonso, every detail, from the smell of wet wood to the creak of ancient ropes, spoke of destiny unfolding. Among the gathered souls, Afonso and Isabella exchanged a brief but profound glance. Though their paths were only just converging, both recognized in the other a kindred fire. Isabella's calm determination and sharp intellect would prove to be as essential as the strength of the ship's timbers in the trials ahead. It was clear that this voyage, though wrought with peril, held the promise of alliances that transcended the confines of convention. With Captain Dom Duarte's commanding words echoing in their hearts, the expedition set sail. The Resolute cleaved through the waves, as if propelled by the very aspirations of its crew. As the ship left behind the familiar shores of Lisbon, Afonso felt an exhilaration mixed with trepidation. The wide, uncharted Atlantic beckoned a vast expanse where history, myth, and the unpredictable might converge in a single heartbeat. The gentle lull of the sea soon gave way to challenges unforeseen. As the shore receded into a memory, every gust of wind, every shifting current, seemed to carry with it the weight of centuries, a reminder that to traverse these waters was to challenge fate itself. In the quiet moments on deck, Afonso would often close his eyes and listen to the whispers of the ocean. They spoke of ancient mariners and the relentless pursuit of knowledge, of lives lost and dreams reborn in the endless dance between man and nature. Thus began Afonso's journey, a voyage not just of distance, but of the soul. With every rising wave and every distant horizon, he was compelled to confront the limits of his own courage and the boundless possibilities of what lay ahead. The call of the sea, so ancient and persistent, had finally found a willing heart, and in its embrace, history and destiny would be forever intertwined.